"You look tired, sir," said the little girl on the plane. The man beside her didn't even look up. His eyes were fixed on the window, his mind miles away, lost in numbers, deadlines, and losses that no spreadsheet could calculate. The little girl tilted her head, waiting for him to respond, but when he didn't, she went back to drawing on the back of a napkin, a picture of the sun and two stick figures holding hands. He caught a glimpse of it in the corner of his eye, and for the first time in months, something in his chest ached. His name was Daniel Graves, CEO of one of the biggest tech companies in the country. To the world, he was a success story, a self-made man, living proof that determination could turn dirt into diamonds. But on that red-eye flight to New York, Daniel wasn't thinking about business. He was thinking about how he just buried his father 2 days ago and hadn't shed a single tear. He was exhausted, not the kind of tired a nap could fix, but the kind that lived inside your bones. His assistant had insisted he take a few days off, but Daniel refused. The company couldn't run without him, at least, that's what he told himself. The flight attendant passed by, offering coffee. Daniel nodded without looking, his fingers tightening around the armrest. The little girl beside him, maybe 7 or 8, looked up with curious eyes that seemed too big for her small face. She had curly brown hair and a pink backpack shaped like a unicorn. "You look tired, sir," she said again, gently this time, as if she were talking to a friend. Daniel blinked. No one had spoken to him like that in years, not with concern, not without an agenda. He turned to her, forcing a polite smile. "I suppose I am," he said. "My mom says when people look tired, they need someone to listen," she said. "You want to talk?" He almost laughed. "About what?" "Anything," she shrugged. "Sometimes I talk to my dad in heaven. Maybe he tells your dad to say hi." Daniel froze. His throat tightened. She didn't notice. She was still coloring. Her small hand moved carefully, filling the sky with blue. "He died last year," she said softly. "The plane feels lonely sometimes, but I think he can still see me." Daniel's eyes blurred. He turned away quickly. He hadn't told anyone on this flight that his father was gone, yet somehow, this child had found the wound and pressed it with innocence instead of pity. For the rest of the flight, Daniel listened to her chatter about school, her favorite colors, and how she wanted to be a pilot someday so she could fly up and wave to her dad. He found himself smiling, really smiling, for the first time in a long while. When they landed, the little girl stood up, grabbed her unicorn bag, and said, "You're gonna be okay, sir. My mom says people who smile at the end of a flight always make it home safe." He wanted to ask her name, but she was gone in the crowd before he could. He stood there, frozen, holding the napkin she'd left behind, the one with the sun and 2 stick figures. Except now, he noticed something new. Above them, written in uneven handwriting, were the words, "You're not alone." Daniel couldn't sleep that night in his Manhattan apartment. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at that napkin. It felt like a message, not from the girl, but from somewhere else. Somewhere higher. The next morning, he canceled his meetings. For the first time in years, he went to his father's old workshop, the one he hadn't entered since his college days. Dust hung in the air like memories frozen in time. On the workbench was a half-finished model airplane they'd built together before he left for business school. Daniel ran his hand across the wood, his chest tightening. His father had always said, "Don't let success cost you your soul, son. Build things that make people's lives better, not just your own." But Daniel hadn't listened. He'd chased profits, expansion, dominance. And now, standing there in that quiet workshop, he realized what he'd lost: family dinners, birthdays, laughter. His father's last Christmas that he sat down, head in his hands, and for the first time, he wept. Weeks passed, but something in Daniel had shifted. He started arriving at the office earlier, not to work, but to greet his employees. He began listening more, smiling more, even helping design a new foundation to provide tech education for children in underprivileged communities. When the board questioned his sudden change in direction, he simply said, we have the power to build something bigger than profit. Let's build hope. One afternoon, he was at a charity event for the new foundation when a familiar voice called out behind him, "Hi, Mr. CEO." He turned. It was her, the little girl from the plane. Same curly hair, same smile. She was holding a small trophy that said, "Young Dreamer of the Year." Her mother stood beside her, smiling warmly. "You're the man from the flight," she said. She wouldn't stop talking about how you needed a friend that night. Daniel laughed softly, tears welling in his eyes. He knelt down to the little girl's height. "You gave me something more than friendship," he said. "You reminded me how to live again." She beamed. Then we both helped each other. He handed her a small envelope, a scholarship from his foundation, addressed to her name. "For your future pilot license," he said with a wink. Her eyes went wide. "Really? Really?" As she hugged him tightly, Daniel looked up, at the sky, at the light filtering through the windows, and whispered, "Thank you, Dad." The girl pulled away and held up another napkin she'd been drawing on. This time, it was a picture of an airplane soaring toward the sun. Above it, written in her small handwriting, were the words, "Dreams don't get tired, sir. Only hearts that forget to dream." Daniel smiled through tears, knowing he'd never forget again. That night, he placed both napkins in a frame on his desk. The caption he added underneath read simply, "She reminded me to fly again." And from that day on, Daniel Graves, the man who once believed success meant never stopping, learned that sometimes, slowing down and listening to a little girl's wisdom is what truly helps you soar.